Hello again, Howard Baxton here. Um, in this video, I want to do something a little bit different. I'm just going to ad lib and talk about a few things that are standard with nPose, and we can actually use them. So I'm going to do this without a note card and just talk and do. So first of all, I'd like to talk about um, default action of nPose for setting a new sitter. If we notice, we have a chair sit for all four of these uh, square pads with the numbers on them. So if you hover over them, you get the little chair icon next to the cursor, meaning you can sit automatically just by click. We do not have that on the base pose or this other one, which is the nPose logo in mesh. And so we have actually a total of 6 prims on this thing, and I think we can verify that if we look. Land impact is 4, but if we look for more information, we see there are actually 6 prims in there, but the land impact of this thing is only 4. Okay, if we look in contents, we see we are fully loaded. We're set up to set a total of 4 sitters, and the default card has been named as set:default card. Okay, so that's looking fairly reasonable. We've got just the basic scripts in there. There's nothing added like plugins or what have you. And in the default card, we see we have an exam line for each of the 4 seats. Every seat is going to be doing the meditation pose, and we see there's some realistic values for position and also some realistic values for rotation. So if, for instance, I take and hover over seat number 3 and sit, it's actually taking me to seat 1. I think I can prove this fairly easily by going to Utilities and clicking the Change Seat button, and it tells me I am in seat 1. These other seats are free. So nPose put me in seat 1. Okay, so the next sitter to sit in this thing, if another avatar came along and wanted to sit down, they would end up in seat 2. And the following sitter would sit for the third sitter would end up in seat 3, and consequently the fourth sitter would end up in seat 4. So that is the default action of nPose, to put a sitter in the lowest available seat on the pad. Okay, in this case, when I sat, the lowest is seat 1. That's the default action. So what if we wanted to do something a bit different? Let's say for a singles build, if we had single sitter poses in each one of these, what if we allowed each sitter to pick the seat they wanted to sit in? So I could sit directly to seat 4, I could sit directly to seat 2, I could sit directly to seat 3, whatever I wanted to do. There's a very easy way to do this. Let me show you how this works. If we go in here and edit linked and select, for example, seat 1 over here, and we went to the general tab and renamed that linked object to point to the seat we want to sit in. In this case, name it 1 for seat 1 for the exam line with seat 1 in it. This one we could name it 3. This one we could name it 2. And this one we could name it 4. Okay, so the only way we can pull this off is to actually have extra prims, a 1 prim build. You can only go with the default arrangement at this point. So let me go ahead and close that, and let's give this a try. What if I want to sit directly to seat 4? Boom, there I am. What if I want to sit directly to seat 2? Boom, and there I am there. So you see, this is a very simple way to give nPose some insight into where you actually want to sit. For instance, if this was a couch and you had prims there where you could click to sit to the far left or to the far right or somewhere in between on that couch, you could sit directly to that position. You know, if your partner sat in seat 1, you could actually sit in a seat next to them just by pointing and clicking. It's the same way. So now what happens if I click on one of these other 2 prims, the nPose mesh or the base? So let me right click and sit here. And as you see, nPose takes the default action when there's no number associated with that. And the same if I click on the mesh. If I right click and sit here, default action applies. Okay, that's pretty interesting and kind of nice to do. Okay, that's pretty simple. Let's move on to another topic, and let's call it, let's look at seat permissions, for example. If we wanted to change the permissions as to who could sit in seat 1, or permissions as to who could sit in seat 4, or vice versa, or whatever for the rest of them, we can change those permissions. There's a command to do that. And let me pull up this note card, for example, and go to the nPose v4 and click on the wiki. And if we look in the wiki, it brings us to the home, and that's basically this page in the table of contents. I want to go to another way. Here's how I would go and look up something. I like to go to the quick syntax reference list. And we go down here and you see all of these commands that are possible to do, and each they are in alphabetical order, so it's fairly easy to find what you want to do. And in this case, you see a syntax as to how to use default card, and we do that in the init card. So it says use default card, and then the note card name that you want to have be the default card. Define this def command. See, it's fairly simple. We've got a keyword, and then we've got a seat 1 setting. We can go to seat 2 setting, and it is actually saying equal in whatever setting we give it. So seat 2 would have equal in whatever setting we'd give it. Okay, so this is quick syntax, but I know new users don't have a clue as to what def is, and obviously we don't have a clue as to what keywords are available. So I can go over here and click on this def again. It will take me to the extended description of what this is, and it gives me the syntax again, same thing, and then it talks about keywords, and these are case sensitive, and here's a list of the keywords we can use. Oops, sorry, not that far, this far. Okay, this is pretty much what's in our seats list that we build, so that when we run an exam line, the first thing in the list is going to be the seat name. Second in the list is going to be the seat permission. third is going to be the animation name, and this is all the stuff that gets stored. Clear down to the sitter name, the sitter type, whether you're an avatar or one of the buddies for the buddy list, and all of this goes on. You got the animation position, animation rotation, and you can put in facials, on and on and on. So we can actually change anything in that seat list for each sitter or each seat that nPose typically does automatically. The two that are extremely important to us, and probably the only ones logically you will use, because these are all automatically filled out, are seat name and seat perm. We can change these, and nPose will carry them out. And once we set them, they're permanent. So in doing such, if we put up a line like def seat name, we can change the name of seat 1 to 1, or seat 2 to 2. Seat 3, we can, go to the outhouse left, and seat 4, we could go to the outhouse right. That's about the only example I could come up with when I was writing this, so it works. I remembered my grandma and grandpa had an old outhouse, and it did have a two-seater in it, so there you go. And it makes good sense, and we can change each one of these seat numbers names. Where do those names show up? They would be in, I can't change seats because I'm not sitting. So let me sit here, then go to utilities, change seats, and where it says seat 2, seat 3, seat 4, those would assume the names that we see here in our def command. We can try that and give it a shot. Let me just literally copy this as it is. Let's copy that. Let's go in here and edit the .init card and add that line. We'll just paste it in there. Save it and close it. And let's go up one notch and go back into change seats. And you see I'm still setting here, but we have seat 2, and we have outhouse left, and we have outhouse right. Those names are changed, and they're permanent. And if I change to outhouse right, come back, and we have seat 1 is empty, seat 2 is empty, outhouse left is empty, and I'm here, and actually denoted by that dot. So that's kind of how that works, and you can select your own names for the seats, and maybe they'll make better sense for you. Okay, now I want to take a look at seat perms. If we use the keyword seat perm, then we can set the permissions for seat 1 equal to, say, owner, seat 2 equal to group, and see what happens here. So let me go ahead and copy this line and go ahead and go up here and edit the init. And there it is. I've already added it. I want to do one more thing here, just because I'm curious and I want to see. I want to add one more permission for seat 3, for instance. Put that equal to not MS1. MS1 is a automatically populated user-defined Boolean. Wait a minute, what happened? I didn't need that in there. Anyway, MS1 is populated based on gender. I I should put that to 3 actually. Each seat gets a male in seat 3. And I actually want to do one more thing. Let's make that a not. So if it's not a male in seat 3, it becomes a female. Okay, so let's go ahead and set that one up. And there we go. Now then, let's see what happens if I sit in seat 1. I am the owner. I can sit in seat 1. I have a group tag on called Goat Mumbler. I can sit in seat 2. That's because our object is set to group for the mumbling goat, and that's the tag I got for that one. Let me see if I can sit in seat 3. I cannot sit in seat 3. That's because I am a male, and we set that to only non-male avatars can sit there. And I have seat 4. So I did that with seat 3 for a really good purpose. I wanted to make sure that you understood that we can use user-defined booleans to set our seat permissions with. Okay, and this is one that automatically is set up for gender. So if it is a male in seat 3, then this value would be a 1, and if it's not a male in seat 3, the expression would be true if we put the not in front of it, or the explanation point. So we have the capability of using our built-in user-defined booleans as well. Okay, so this is very interesting. What happens if I try and sit in seat 3? I go to seat 1 actually. If I try and sit in seat 4, I can go there. I got my good buddy over here, nPose tester 2. Let me go see what happens if he tries to sit seat 3. No, and he can't sit at all. Now, why is that? Our seat permission for seat 1 is set to owner only. Our seat permission in seat 2 is set to group only. And seat 3 is set to female only. And he doesn't have a group tag on. He's definitely not the owner, and he's definitely not a female. So he can't sit there, and that leaves no available options for him to sit. Now, let me try one thing here just to make sure I understand. Let's set his avatar to female type shape. Save as, and we'll save it. Now that that's a female shape, yeah, you can pretty well see it's a female shape. Male face, basically, but now I can actually sit in seat 3. I can't sit in seat 1. It's going to push me to seat 3. I can't sit in seat 2. It's going to push me to seat 3. Okay, so the female can sit there. What if I stand up? Can this nPose tester 2 as a female set in seat 4? Yes, that's possible. There is no restrictions on seat 4. That's just the default. And if I try sitting in seat 1 still, I go to seat 3. What happens if I change seat? Can I change seats to a seat that doesn't typically allow me to sit? Like seat 2, for instance? Yes. So this only works. It doesn't prevent someone from changing seats to get into those seats. I can actually change seats to seat 1 as well. So yes, change seats, you're available to move to each and every seat in the pose. It's only when you sit that that restriction applies. Okay, I think that's all I have for this video. So see you in the next one.